Welcome. I'm going to be doing this year's Advent of Code. This is 2022. I have nothing written here. I'm going to be doing it in Python 3. And let's get started. Santa's reindeer typically eat regular reindeer food, but they need a lot of magical energy to deliver presents on Christmas. For that, their favorite snack is a special type of star fruit that only grows deep in the jungle. The elves have brought you to their annual expedition to the grove where the fruit grows. To supply enough magical energy, the expedition needs to retrieve a minimum of 50 stars by December 25th. Although, this is the basic exposition at the front of every Advent of Code, telling us what we're going to do through the whole thing, through all 25 days. Although the elves assure you that the grove has plenty of fruit, you decide to grab any fruit you see along the way, just in case. Collect stars by solving puzzles, 2 puzzles per day, each grant 1 star. The jungle must be too overgrown and difficult to navigate in vehicles or access from the air. The elves' expedition traditionally goes on foot. As your boats approach land, the elves begin taking their inventory of their supplies. One important consideration is food, in particular the number of calories each elf is carrying. Our puzzle input. The elves take turn writing down the number of calories contained by the various meal snacks rations that they brought with them, 1 item per line. Each elf separates their own inventory from the previous elf's inventory by a blank line. And for example, suppose the elves finish writing their items' calories to end up with the following list: 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000, 10,000. Each separated double line is a different elf. This represents the calories of food carried by the 5 elves. First elf is carrying 1, 2, and 3, so he has 6,000, or she, or they. Second elf is single item with 4,000, etc., etc. In case the elves get hungry and need extra snacks, they need to know which elf to ask. They'd like to know how many calories are being carried by the elf carrying the most calories. An example above, this is 24,000. This is pretty simple. I think we just need to start with parsing the input, which is a list of integers separated by a single new line or 2 new lines. So let's just start with our basics. I'm going to make a main function with the input pass, and then I'm going to do the usual if main equals if name equals main. This is probably too small for you guys, right? So bumping it up, coding real big. All right, so if the name is main, then we're going to call main with sys dot argv, right? So we need to import sys. So argv is the arguments to the program. We can usually ignore the first argument. And then we want to, I usually separate these as parse input. And so for the input, we want to do input, we want to separate each elf and then each elf snacks. Not for this problem, but probably for the next problem. So we're going to do a double array comprehension here. So each elf is going to be one of these arrays. So we're going to have int of line for line in section dot split lines. Yeah. And then we're going to do, and that is going to be done over each section in input.split on, and we're going to do double split lines. So splitting on double lines. And this should give us each integer a double list, right? So if we want to use typing, it would be list of int, where we can do from typing import list here, so that we have the type. And for now, let's just print our input. That's going to be our output. So first of all, let me download this file and bring up our terminal. So cat day1 dot example. And we're going to do that, and then we're going to do Python day1 dot example. And it's giving us, great. Okay, so we we didn't actually read in the file, so this is input file. So maybe we'll do, yeah, so input file, and then we'll with open input file input equals as f dot read, and then we just do parse input. We do parsed. Actually, let's make input the parse input. Yeah, and then we can just print the input. Yeah, and then maybe we'll change this name to raw. Yeah, and we'll just raw. All right, let's run that. I'll make this a little smaller so we don't cover up our code every time we do that. All right, so expected story bytes, so it was path-like object, not list. Right, because input file is a list, so we just want to take the first one. Try it again. Okay, cool. So this is exactly what we expect. Each elf has their list of integers that contain their snacks. And for this one, we just need to sum each one and grab the max. So for def part 1 input, which in this case is a list int, we're going to return an int, and we can just do print part 1 colon, we do part 1 input. All right, let's go. So for each so we just need to do the return max, which takes a, I believe, list of values. So we want to do star, so calories, totals, so the list of total calories for each elf is sum of snacks for snacks in input. So the input is the list of elves, and they each contain a list of snack calories, and we're going to take sum, get the totals, and then we just want to get the max of those totals. All right, there we go. 24,000. That is the correct answer for the example input. And so let's just grab our puzzle input. I'm just gonna quickly and run it. Part 1, 69795, and submit. That is the right answer. Of course it is, because it wasn't that hard a problem. Let's continue to part 2. By the time you calculate your answer to the elf's question, they've already realized that the elf carrying the most calories might eventually run out of snacks. To avoid this unacceptable situation, the elves would like to know the total calories carried by the top 3 elves carrying the most calories. That way, even if one of those elves runs out of snacks, they still have 2 backups. In the example above, the top 3 elves are the 4th, 3rd, and the 5th. The sum of the calories is 45,000. Find the top 3 elves. How many calories are they carrying in total? So this is pretty easy. We just need to grab the top 3. Optimally, we would just keep a list of the top 3 and run through the entire list of elves and grab each of the top 3 and sum it. But we don't, and that's O of n. But we don't really need to do that in this case. We can do n log n. We can just sort the list and grab the top 3, and that's much simpler to write. It's not faster to run, but because our data size is so small, it doesn't matter. So def part 2 input. In this case, I'm still going to keep typing things int. We're returning an int, and in this case, so we're going to take the same totals because we don't care about the individual snacks at all. We just care about the totals, and then we're going to do totals.sort, and then we're going to return sum of totals -3 to the end. So that'll grab the last 3 items in the list. Sort does ascending, so the biggest ones are going to be at the end. We're going to return the sum. So if we save this, and we put part 2 first before we run it. Part 2. Oh my god. There we go. Part 2. And we run it. In this case, we want to run it with the example. We get 45,000. That was the correct. So let's run it with the real one, which I called .part1, which isn't correct, but whatever. And we get this answer, 208,000. And we submit it, and that is correct. And we have done it. We've completed day 1. So my plan is to record these videos for every day of Advent of Code, maybe going on beyond that. And I'll be in a few different locations because I'm on travel right now. But hope you guys enjoyed this video. Here is my final solution. It's pretty simple for today, but they do get much more complicated. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye.